Hey everyone, Core here, and today we've got a great product checkout, and that is this EMaxx TinyHawk Freestyle frame here. It is in the toothpick family, and it is also small, just like the original TinyHawk. It is a very small form factor, and it is a carbon fiber frame, 2mm on the top and bottom, solid bottom frame here. And it comes at a great price point of $105. So let's see what you get for that price. It comes in this nice zippered clamshell case. When you open it up, on the top here, you will have your manual, your bag of 8 props, some EMaxx stickers. Over here, you've got your two 450 milliamp hour batteries. You've got your USB charger where you can charge up to 6 batteries at one time. You got your bag of screws for your props, and of course, your TinyHawk. Now, in order for this to actually be a toothpick, it has to be light. So the dry weight is 50.6 grams. With the stock lipos, we're looking at 76.6 grams. Now I have a bunch of these 525 milliamp hour batteries here from RDQ, and they're barely like a half gram heavier than the stock batteries. So I have a bunch of those. So the weight with those, we're looking at 77.2 grams. The motors look to be very well made. They actually have a 2mm shaft that's cut down to 1.5mm to push on the props. But if you're wanting to use them on anything else, you're gonna have a difficult time as the bolt pattern on the bottom is 8mm wide. With the standard already being 9mm for this size of a motor, we really don't need another standard trying to be brought in here. As it comes, the receiver and VTX antenna are mounted okay, but I did strip it down and you do have some other options available to you, as you can see here. To start flying your TinyHawk, the manual does have everything you need to get flying. The bind button is located on the bottom side of the frame here. It's kind of hard to get to it, but you can do it. Unfortunately, the VTX does come locked, so this is what your channels are going to look like. But it's an easy fix. You're just going to push in this button here, and then you're just going to power on the quad, and then your channel should all be unlocked. For the battery life, this flight style you see here is just under 50% throttle. And I was able to get about 7 minutes with the stock battery. And here you're seeing me use the RDQ 525 milliamp hour battery. And it did give me almost 8 minutes and 30 seconds of flight. But as you can see here, I absolutely drained the battery. And I limped my way back and I absolutely killed the battery right here. Here I'm doing some higher speed maneuvers to see what this quad can really do, and it does have a lot of zip for 2S. It does feel really good. However, I was getting these high throttle oscillations going on when you're trying to catch yourself through a really hard turn, and it actually started up feeling really weird to me. Like I couldn't really get a good turn going on, and I was really getting high up in the air, and I realized that I didn't have my angle set right for my camera, which is another thing I'm going to bring up here in a bit. But unfortunately, I did end up crashing, and before I took off, I didn't check to see if my props were on all the way, because you really don't need to put the screws on if you do check your props after you crash. So even though this frame is pretty robust, I did end up taking off, and I basically landed upside down onto the pavement from about 50 feet up, and I did kill my quad. And just to be clear, the damage to the quad is in the 4-in-1 ESC. After that hit, it did stop arming correctly. And I mean, it was a bad hit. The lipos on the top were even squished down a bit. And I don't have them right here to show you because they were damaged and I wanted to risk them catching on fire inside my house. But I didn't really expect any quad like that to take a hit and basically be fine. But speaking of that, as for the camera, I wanted to increase the angle of the camera in order to actually be able to fly appropriately for what I was trying to do. But unfortunately here, you can see these two slots on top of the frame here, and all you should have to be able to do is just loosen up those screws and take that camera tab there and put it into that back notch in that slot there. But unfortunately, you can see that I have my frame here, and this camera is literally glued into place, which is super weird. And I was actually afraid of breaking the camera for this review, so left it as is. And unfortunately, it kind of made me crash, even though that's kind of, that's my fault anyway. And to be clear, I have not heard of anyone else's cameras being glued in, so this might be just to be a weird one-off fluke for my quad. The camera itself, it's okay. It's better than they used to be, but the clarity, as you can see, is not quite the greatest. And all that footage that you saw was in very low light conditions. But when you do start seeing the sun, the light handling capability of the camera wasn't the greatest. But another thing I would also recommend is that you go through this bottom plate and top plate as well, and make sure you tighten up all the screws. The standoff screws on mine were very loose, and they definitely wouldn't have held on very long. So anyway, that wraps up this video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I'd love to see them. And give this video a like if you liked it. And if you disliked it, just go ahead and hit that thumbs down button. I'm Core with Crash and Burn Racing, and thank you for watching.